Hey, what's up, guys? It's Mr. IPOC. This would be Tuesday morning or Tuesday afternoon, again, depending on when you have my class. We're going into lesson 12.2 notes. If my paper people can right now, go over to the table and pick those up and pass those out. Miss Coombs, as of just like yesterday, if you can come over here, pause the video, and we can and then hit play once all students receive their paper. Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, so looking at this, going to lesson 12.2, the converse of Pythagorean theorem. Kind of like inverse, but a little bit different. It's kind of like you're finding it the other way. So converse, not necessarily the Chuck Taylor shoe, but definitely converse of Pythagorean theorem. So anytime you hear converse of Pythagorean theorem, it's going to be dealing with something like this. So the Pythagorean theorem, make sure you put your name, period, all the good stuff. The Pythagorean theorem states that if a triangle is a right triangle, I forgot the N here, then a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So if it's a right triangle, then leg squared plus leg squared equals a hypotenuse squared. This is what we learned yesterday. Okay, but the converse of the Pythagorean theorem states that if a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then, again, I forgot the N, then the triangle is a right triangle. Okay? So it's kind of like this. If it's a right triangle, then this will work. Okay? And then if this will work, then that kind of makes it a right triangle. It's kind of hand in hand, vice versa is a good kind of word for that. Vice versa. Converse, they're kind of very one and the same. Okay, so it's vice versa. So if we want to see if it's a right triangle, and if we're missing a side, then we use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But what if we're given three sides? If we're given three sides, okay, and we want to see if it's a right triangle, then the converse of Pythagorean theorem should work, which is just simply still a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now, this is where that tip the other day will come in so tremendously handy. I had you kind of start, and we're gonna start again. The longest side of a right triangle will be the hypotenuse. Okay, the longest side of a right triangle will be the hypotenuse. This is going to come in handy tremendously in this lesson, because basically what they're giving to you is they're saying, hey, we're going to give you three measurements of a triangle. Is the triangle a right triangle based on the three measurements? Well, it's very important for you to understand that how to basically identify what's a leg and what's the hypotenuse. So this statement, the longest side of a right triangle will be the hypotenuse, is very, 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 very valuable. Okay, so let's go straight into number one. All right, now we're also going to have a list of steps here. I'll kind of come to the side. Let me zoom out just a little bit. Let's go with some steps. First off, always identify. It's kind of very similar to the other one. Identify A, B, and C. So I go ahead and identify the leg, hypotenuse. Okay, so I'm always going to start by identifying the hypotenuse, because the hypotenuse is the what? It is the greatest. It is the longest side. It's the greatest number. So obviously 15 here would be the greatest number, so I could say this is C. All right? So I'll say this is C. Now what is going to be A and B? Well, 8 can be A or it can be B. 12 can be A or it can be B. So we can just say A, B, C, just to keep it very simple. Okay, so now let's go ahead and zoom back into number one. And looking at this, so now if we want to see if this is a true right triangle or not, we're simply just going to rewrite the formula. So let me show you over here. Step number 2, write the formula. So there we go. Write the formula. So let's go ahead and write the formula. The formula is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, we all know that. Leg squared plus leg squared equals c squared. Now, once I get back from my time off, I will 100% for sure, we'll kind of give the proof of why this works with triangles, okay? Just for the sake of time, and obviously for the sake of me not being here, we'll just you can just trust me that this stuff works, okay? You can just absolutely trust me that this stuff works. Okay, so now we just simply, step 3, substitute the values in. Substitute the values in. Okay, so we substitute, there you go. Substitute the values in here. Make sure you get that down as the third step. So we go to number 1. Let's substitute the value in. Well, a is 8, so we say 8 squared plus b is 12 squared equals c is 15 squared. Okay, now this is where those squares can definitely play a role, and some of you are beginning now. Oh, I'm glad he made us learn those. So 8 squared is 64. 64 plus 12 squared is 144 equals 15 squared, which is 225. Okay, so what you're going to have to do is you're simply going to have to combine these, 144 plus the 64, or vice versa. Well, 144 plus 64, one way I would do it is just simply by saying 140 plus 60 is 200, and then 4 and 4 is 8, so our answer would be 208, and that is equal to 225. Are these values equal to each other? They are not, so we just put a slash through here. And is this a right triangle? We would just simply say no, and that's our answer. So what you're doing for these is you're basically just you're identifying, they give you 3 side lengths, and then you're trying to identify, is this a right triangle? You do that through this process, okay? If they're equal to each other here, then they would be a right triangle, all right? So, going to number 2. 3 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards, okay? So again, what is always the longest side of a right triangle will always be the hypotenuse. So the longest right here is 5, so we're going to put C here for 5. Now, the legs are interchangeable. Either one could be A or B. We're just going to, again, keep it simple, and let's just say A, B, C. So let's go ahead and always rewrite the formula. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So let's go ahead and substitute the values in. We have 3 squared plus 4 squared equals C squared is 5. So we got 5 squared. Now from here it should be pretty simple. 3 squared is 9. 4 squared is 16. 5 squared is 25. 9 plus 16 is actually going to be 25. Does it equal 25? Yes, it does. I'm going to put a check, and I'm going to say yes. This is a right triangle. We know it's a right triangle because the leg squared equals the hypotenuse squared. Okay? When this is equal here, then we're simply just going to say yes. So you're not learning too much more today. The only thing you're really learning today is this, that if you're given 3 sides of a triangle, can you determine if it is a right triangle? So that would be your I can statement. I can identify whether a triangle is a right triangle when I'm given 3 sides. Okay. All right, let's do a couple more of these. Probably just a couple more. We won't do too many. So, number 3, we have 9 miles, 12 miles, and 20 miles. So, what is the hypotenuse? Well, the hypotenuse is always the longest side. So, we're going to simply say C here. And then the legs are kind of interchangeable. So, we have A here and B here. Now, we could make it complicated and put B here and A here. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so we will continue on, and we're going to always rewrite the formula. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay, so from there, let's substitute the values in. What do we have for A? 9. So we got 9 squared plus B is 12 squared equals 20 squared. Okay. So we look at that. 9 squared is 81. Plus 12 squared is 144. Plus 20 squared is 400. So we look at that and we say 81 plus 144, and that equals 225. Does 225 equal 400? It does not. So does these three side lengths make a right triangle? Your answer would simply be no. Okay. Very good. Now let's look at number 4. I think you guys are kind of getting the point here. So we got 9, 12, and 15. Now notice I didn't make it too complicated on you as far as just moving around those numbers. I don't think any assessment's going to make it complicated. In that fact, it could, but just keep in mind the longest side is always the right triangle will always be the hypotenuse. Okay, so the longest side right here is 15. So always start out by identifying the longest. 15 is the longest side. So then we have A and B. We say A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay, so A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So we look at that. Now we're going to substitute those values in. So we have 9 squared plus 12 squared equals 15 squared. Okay. So 9 squared is 81 plus 12 squared 144. 15 squared is 225. If you kind of notice what we had over here just a second ago, you can kind of see a pattern. 81 and 144 is 225. Does 225 equal 225? Or not 222, 225. Does that equal? Yes, it does. Therefore, making this a right triangle. Okay. Again, I'm not necessarily concerned about continuing those. So I think after 4 problems, you guys are kind of seeing the way this is going. Okay. All right. Now, so let's go to the back side. Okay. Let's go to the back side. All right. Here we go. Now we're getting into some word problems. This isn't necessarily dealing with when you're given 3 sides. This more has to do with a missing side, but it still deals with Pythagorean Theorem, and this is what we really want to hit on. Okay. So, the Evansville Fire Department was sent to rescue a liger from a tree. Legit liger. This was a legit real-world problem. I'm just kidding. I'm not sure if you've watched Napoleon Dynamite, but I actually had a master's class with someone, and, well, my master's teacher actually swears that he saw Bigfoot. And I know that sounds absolutely insane, and when he said this, of course, I just absolutely began to heckle and laugh, and he had actually kind of messed him up just for the simple fact of because he was actually being dead serious. He was absolutely dead serious about the matter. So, and then another girl in the class said, you know, there really is a such thing as liger, where they breed lions with tigers. I don't know whether that's true or not, but hey, they found a liger in Evansville. The Evansville Fire Department was sent to rescue a liger from a tree. The firefighters had a 15-foot ladder against the tree at a height of 12 feet. How far was the ladder from the tree? So, guys, an easy way to always kind of depict this is to just go ahead and draw it out. It's completely fine to draw it out. So I'm just going to draw the your typical American tree, which this absolutely most of the time looks nothing like a tree, but let's say it does right today. Okay. Most trees don't look anything like this, but it's kind of like the universal tree. I don't know. It's weird. Okay. And now, you know, I'm not necessarily concerned with drawing the fire truck, but we can draw the ladder. So let's put the ladder right here. And okay, cool. So we have the ladder. Now, it said the ladder was a 15-foot ladder, okay? And it said that the firefighters laid the 15-foot ladder against the tree at a height of 12 foot. So our our height right here is 12 foot. Okay? And what it's asking is how far was the ladder from the tree? So how far was really, it's really a bad question. I don't like this question because it should say how far is the base of the ladder from the tree, because if you want to be technical, the ladder's actually it's on the tree, you know. But it's really asking you how far is the ladder, how far is this base right here? Well, I hope many of you are beginning to see this right here, that this is actually forming a triangle. And it's just wanting to know. So this is 15, this is 12, and we're looking for this side. So this is a little review from yesterday. So how do we find that? Well, first we always identify what we have. So A, B, and C. Let's determine what each of those are. Okay. Well, keep in mind the side always opposite the right angle will be C. Let me zoom in just a little bit. The side always opposite the right angle is C, so we're going to put 15 right here. Okay. Now, continuing on, looking at B. Well, we could say this is B or A. I'm just going to say 12 is A and B is what we're looking for. Okay. Now that we have identified that, we can write the formula out. So we're going to say A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay. So, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So, we have A is 12 squared plus B squared equals 15 squared. B is what we're looking for, so it's not anything right now. So, we continue. 12 squared is 144 plus B squared equals 15 squared is 225. All right? So, we simply... What do we do for any equations? Well, we want to isolate the variable. Okay, so in order to isolate b squared, I'm going to do the inverse operation of addition. I'm going to subtract 144 from both sides. So I'm going to minus 144 from both sides, and this cancels, and I'm left with b squared is equal to 81. Then from there, I got to do the inverse operation of squaring, which is to square root. What I do to one side, I got to do to the other. So B, therefore, is equal to 9. 9 what? 9 feet. And if this was an open response question where it's just like this, how far was the ladder from the tree? The ladder was 9 feet from the tree. Okay. And that's what I would kind of look at right there. The ladder was 9 feet from the tree. All right. Okay, so what I wanted us to do right now, I want us to, or while you're kind of finishing and copy that down, if you're already finished with that, go ahead and start on number 10. Miss Coombs, if you don't mind, to go ahead and just hit pause on the video. Just hit pause. And let's give them about maybe 90 seconds, to see if they can figure out number 10 on their own. And then I'll come back in and I will pick up from where they left off at. So, guys, go ahead and hit pause, and we will work this out to see what we have going here is. All right, thank you. Go ahead and hit pause. Okay, I am trusting that everyone's done with this problem now. So you can go with me, and we are going to, I'll work this problem out as well. All right, Kate Ye, I don't know where that name comes, is buying edging for a triangular flower garden she plans to build in her backyard. If the lengths of the 3 pieces of edging that she purchases are 13 feet, 10 feet, and 7 feet, will the flower garden be in the shape of a right triangle? So this is dealing with what we've learned today. When you're given 3 sides of a triangle, does it make a right triangle? Okay, so we're just going to start like we normally do. What do we do first? We have to find the longest side, and we'll make that C. So the longest is 13, so we'll say C is 13, and then we'll make A and the other two sides A and B. Okay. Now we're going to write it out. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So let's go ahead and substitute those values in. So we substitute those values in. We got 10 squared plus 7 squared equals 13 squared. Okay. 10 squared is 100. 7 squared is 49, and 13 squared is 169. All right. Does 149, the sum of these two numbers, equal 169? No, it does not. So your answer would be, would a flower garden be in the shape of a right triangle? Your answer would be no. Again, if you're right, if this is like a little short answer on an assessment, I would just simply write the flower garden will not be a right triangle. The triangle will not be a right triangle. Okay. Number 11. A corner of a fence yard forms a right angle. A corner of a fence yard forms a right angle. Can you place a 12-foot long board across this corner to form a right triangle for which the leg lengths are whole numbers? Explain. Okay, so again, I'm a visionary guy, so I like to kind of think about it like this. Okay, so this is, let's say this is the corner of a fence yard. So here's your fence. Okay, and obviously we have basically two legs here. And it's asking, can we possibly put a 12-foot board across here, and that would be 12 foot. Okay, so it's asking if this was a triangle, can two legs be squared and equal the sum of 12 squared? Okay. So what it's asking is A squared plus B squared equals C squared. We know this is C because it's opposite the right angle. This is 144 squared. So the question is, can you think of a number that we could put in here and here to get a total of 144? And they'd have to be whole numbers. For example, this is where you just try it out. Maybe, let's say 10 and 7. 10 squared plus 7 squared equals 144. Well, that's 100 plus 49 equals 144. Does 149 equal 144? No, think of something else. 81 and 49. No, that wouldn't work. Again, you can just kind of keep guessing and checking with that. But your answer is simply no. This would not work. This would not work. This would not work. Because, here's your explanation, because the sum of the legs squared will not equal the hypotenuse square. Okay, cool. Okay, so as you're writing that down, that kind of sums up lesson 12.2. Now, real quick, I actually forgot to do this before. I was going to do this before the video, but I forgot, and I'm kind of doing this all in like one big jumbo, so my head is going crazy. You can only imagine. So, what I want you to do right now is go ahead and just put these notes to the side. Okay, just put them to the side somewhere. And I want you to get your homework out from last night. Obviously, I cannot take any questions over this homework from last night because, well, I'm not here. Okay? So go ahead and get that out, and I want you to switch it with a partner. Get a pen out. Again, you should have your own pen. If you don't have your own pen, then you can get one out of the bag. If there's not one in the bag, you can get a marker. But I don't want a lot of talking. I shouldn't hear any talking. This should be a very quiet time. You're getting this, and what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and check this. Okay, we're going to go ahead and check this. Now, here's the key. You're going to hold on to everything because one, I don't want to come here and just get a pile of papers from every single day. I want you to just hold on to it, and then when I return next week, I will ask you for everything. Okay, I will ask you for everything, and then you'll come and bring it to me. So you'll have to present all of this graded, okay, by someone else to me next week. So you're going to have to hold on to it. So if you need to pause it while they're getting it out, that's fine. But I'm going to go ahead and continue, and we're just going to check this real quick. All right, so for number 1, this is lesson 12.1 homework. Number 1, your answer should be 5 meters. Make sure there's units. If it's not a unit, I told you all this yesterday, show your work and your units. If there's no unit, it's wrong. Mark it X. If there's number and no unit, it's wrong. Number 2 is 8 feet. 8 feet. Number 3 is 9 yards. 9 yards. Number 4 is 4 meters, so they should have x equals 4 meters, somewhere like that, okay? You be the judge of it. Don't be raising your hands asking Miss Coombs a million questions. You be the judge of that, okay? And if you have any issues, again, you will see me again, so you can just discuss it with me then. 5. 5 is 12 meters. And number 6 is 9 miles. Okay, go to the back side. Again, I'm going to recap the front side real quick. 1 is 5 meters. 2 is 8 feet. 3 is 9 yards. 4 is 4 meters. 5 is 12 meters. And 6 is 9 miles. Okay, going to the back side. Going to the back side. Looking at number 7. Number 7 is 4 feet. 4 feet. Number 8 is 6 inches. Number 9. Okay, again, this is so you're really approximating irrational square roots because these square roots are not perfect. So I'm going to accept, okay, a number anywhere from 5 to 6. Okay, if they have on there any number, whether it be any decimal, 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, 5. Yada yada yada, I'm going to take a range of 5 to 6 and make sure they have yards on there. Okay, make sure they have yards. Trying to remember, I think on the example I gave you on your homework, I put approximately 5.6. Okay, number 10, I'm going to do approximately anywhere from 10 to 11 centimeters. Oh, let me scoot over. 10 to 11 centimeters. Okay, number 11, again, this is approximation. Go anywhere from 13.5 to 14.5 feet. Okay, that is our range. So if they have anywhere from this to this would be correct. And number 12, let's go 7. Oh, excuse me. Scratch that. Run that. No self-service. 6.7 to 7.7. Okay, 6.7 to 7.7. Make sure they have miles again. As long as it's in that range, because they're approximating an irrational square root. As long as it's in that range, it should be fine. Again, let's recap the backside. We got 7 is 4 feet, 8 is 6 inches, 9 is 5 to 6 yards, 10 is 10 to 11 centimeters, 11 is 13.5 to 14.5 feet, and 12 is 6.7 to 7.7 miles. Make sure, again, it's in the range. I'm not looking for this as the answer, guys. I'm looking for like 6.8, 7.1, 7.2, 7.3. That's what I'm looking for. Make sure it's in. This is just representation of the range. Okay, I think that is it. So, guys, this is out of 20. So you guys kind of know how this goes. -0 is a 20 out of 20. Minus 1 is a 19 out of 20. Each question is worth 1 point. Minus 2 is an 18 out of 20. Minus 3 is a 17 out of 20, on and on and on. Okay? All right, make sure you give this back and give it to the respectful person, whoever it is, give it back to them. Again, I know this is when it gets kind of loud, so I shouldn't hear any voices right now. Again, I repeat, I shouldn't hear anything right now. So make sure you put that score in there and give it back to the rightful person. Now, we're going to stop. You can pause the video, or basically just after the video, I'm in my conclusion of it. Paper people, go get 12.2 homework. This is over the notes we just completed. So those notes we just completed, your 12.2 homework will be over this. So use this as a guide for your help as well. And I'm going to post these videos also to my YouTube video, so if you get home, you're like, dang, I forgot what he said, and I know it may be hard simply because I'm not here. Just go back to my YouTube, check that out as well. I think you just got to type in Mr.iPoc in the YouTube search thing, and it'll kind of work out. So paper people, go right now. Ms. Coombs, thank you again so much for working with me. I hope they've been well the first 2 days. Guys, keep it up. You guys are phenomenal. Thank you for working hard for me. Thank you, and I am signing off. Have a good day. Oh, yeah, one last thing. Make sure you complete all the homework. Thanks.